In the previous video, we had seen that how pre-priming complex forms along with the replication fork. In the pre-priming complex, there is a replication fork along with DNA A, SSB and helicase. What are the functions of these three proteins? That also we had discussed in that lecture. So let's move our story further. Now we know that DNA replication, its main enzyme is DNA polymerase. Actually, this is not a single enzyme. This is the family of enzyme, one group of enzymes. So we call it as a DNA polymerases. Okay, any enzyme which can polymerizes the DNA or synthesizes the new DNA, we can call it as a DNA polymerase. Now this family follows certain rule. The first and foremost rule is the reading direction. It reads the template, right? The single stranded DNA is the template for DNA polymerase. So it reads into 3' to 5' direction. This is the first rule. So in this case, in this replication fork, this template strand will be read into this direction. Why? Because its 3' end is over here and 5' end is over here. So 3' to 5' end, this is the reading direction. In case of the second strand, this is the 3' end, this is the 5' end. So its reading direction is this, as per the rule of this DNA polymerase family. Second, it synthesizes new strand. Synthesizes new strand into 5' to 3' direction. That means on this strand, the reading starts from this end and it moves to this 5' end. And new DNA synthesized, it will be like this. So first end which is synthesized will be 5' end, and this new end which is getting synthesized, it is the 3' end. So synthesis is always into 5' to 3' end. On this end, what will happen? It will synthesize over this direction. So this is 5' end and this is 3' end. So as reading and synthesis, both directions are opposite, our DNA molecule is an anti-parallel in nature. The second thing is noticeable thing is that one newly synthesized strand is moving towards the replication fork, whereas another, the opposite strand, is moving away from the replication fork. So our DNA synthesis is occurring in the two direction, right? So these two important things are carried out by these rules of DNA polymerase family. Now there is also a third rule. Which states that DNA polymerase, it requires short piece of nucleic acid. That means if it has provided this short piece of single stranded nucleic acid, this is single stranded nucleic acid, then only it can add nucleotides to this chain, so it can grow like this. Okay, it cannot add two nucleotides together and make up a phosphodiester bond. No, it can add nucleotide to a short piece of this nucleic acid strand. So suppose this is nucleic acid strand is given, then only this DNA polymerase can add new nucleotides to this chain and make up a phosphodiester bond. But if you just provide them a two nucleotide and expect the DNA polymerase will make up a phosphodiester bond, no, this is not possible. Okay, so this short nucleic acid chain, it can be either of DNA or RNA. It can be okay with this DNA polymerase. It may be DNA or it may be RNA, but once it is provided, then only it can grow this chain. So by this third rule, we can say that DNA polymerase is not the first enzyme which can bring certain action, which can start growing chain. Before that, some another enzyme must be there which can synthesize this short piece of nucleic acid. So for that, nature had provided us with one enzyme that is known as primase. This primase, this is a specific enzyme specifically known in E. coli as a DNA G protein or DNA G enzyme. This DNA G is nothing but the E. coli version of the primase. This primase is the member of one family. Just like DNA polymerase, we have another family which is known as RNA polymerase. So this primase or DNA G is the member of RNA polymerase. Now RNA polymerase family also has certain rule. Rule number 1 and 2 are same as of the DNA polymerase family, that is read in the 3' to 5' direction and synthesize into 5' to 3' direction. The third rule is opposite of the DNA polymerase, that it doesn't require short piece of nucleic acid. No preformed nucleic acid is required for this RNA polymerase. So let's see how this RNA polymerase can make up a short sequence of nucleic acid. So this is our double stranded DNA, and this is the replication fork formation. This is 3' to 5' end, and this is 5' to 3' end. So first, RNA polymerase or this primase will bind with this 3' end. Why 3' end? Because it reads into 3' to 5' direction. Here this is the 5' end, so it will bind over here. So this colored portion is of the primase enzyme. This is the primase enzyme. This is also a primase enzyme. So primase enzyme will now start adding nucleotide which are complementary to this template strand. So of course it synthesized from the 5' to 3'. So first nucleotide will be 5' end, then second nucleotide will be added, and so it will grow with certain length. The same thing will happen over here. Here new synthesis will start. This is the 5' end, and short piece of RNA strand is synthesized. Okay, so this is the RNA, and this is also RNA, and specifically this short piece of RNA which is getting synthesized during DNA polymerization, it is known as RNA primer. RNA primer. Now this RNA primer will act as a nidus for the DNA polymerization, that we will see in a short time. Now this RNA primer, it is made up of ribonucleotides. Okay, this part of template, it is made up of deoxyribonucleotides, and the RNA we all know it is made up of ribonucleotides. So suppose we zoom in onto this part. So this is the DNA part, this 3' end I am showing over here, this is the 5' end, and our new RNA which is getting synthesized, it is 5' to 3' direction. So I am just zooming over to this part. Suppose in your DNA you have sequence like A, G, C, T. So opposite to that, complementary nucleotides in the RNA will be, so opposite to A, there will be U. There will be no thymine in case of RNA. So opposite to G, there will be C, opposite to C, there will be G, opposite to T, there will be A. So remember, it's a not deoxyribose sugar in this structure, it's a ribose sugar, and no thymine. Instead of thymine, there is a uracil. So this is the RNA, and this is a naturally occurring, there are hydrogen bonds. So this is a naturally occurring DNA RNA hybrid. The same thing applies over to this part also. Okay, and we know the direction. This is 5' end of RNA primer, this is 3' end, and this is 5' end of RNA primer, and this is the 3' end of RNA primer. Now our DNA polymerase, its third requirement is fulfilled, that now it is short piece of preformed nucleic acid, and that preformed part is made up by this primase enzyme. So now our DNA polymerase 3, now I am talking about specific enzyme, DNA polymerase 3 enzyme. This is one of the important member of DNA polymerase family. This DNA polymerase 3 enzyme, it can now act on this replication fork. So we know the second rule, that it grows from 5' to 3' direction. So this is the 5' to 3' direction. It will start adding nucleotides into this direction. So we are moving from 5' to 3' direction, right? Similarly, here also this strand will grow into this direction. So this is the direction, here this is the direction. So this is newly created 3' end, this is also newly created 3' end. And we can see that both strands are growing in opposite direction. One is growing towards the replication fork, another is growing away from the replication fork. But meanwhile, we cannot forget this helicase enzyme, which is moving into this direction. So what will happen? As helicase moves to this direction, new single stranded DNA will created, and it will come with its own problem. So let's see what are these problems and how nature tries to solve it. Suppose this helicase enzyme is moved up to this level. So only this much portion of double stranded DNA is there, and then there is a replication fork. Now replication fork is bigger. Why? Because our DNA helicase enzyme has moved up to this level. So let's draw the DNA helicase also, so the things become clear. One more thing, once primase binds with this replication fork, that complex is known as primosome. Okay. So now this chain is 3' to 5', and this chain is 5' to 3', and just like this above diagram, just replication fork is bigger. Now this RNA primer is already synthesized. Okay, so this is the RNA primer, this is the 5' end, and here at this part. So RNA primer is over here, and this is the 5' end, and it is growing into this direction. This one is growing into this direction. Now your DNA polymerase 3 is also growing. So it is this much DNA was already synthesized. Once this helicase has moved to this direction, more and more nucleotide will be added. Why? Because now this DNA polymerase 3 has a more space on this direction. So one chain that is growing toward the replication fork, it doesn't have any problem. But what about this chain? It is going to grow into this direction. So now this much portion of DNA is a single stranded. Now how new DNA will be synthesized on this channel? Okay, so again primase enzyme will bind over here. It will make up a new RNA primer into, of course, into this direction. This is 5' to 3' end. This is the direction. And then only your DNA polymerase 3 will act on that, and it will grow into this direction. And there is a gap over here. Okay, just the gap is not of the nucleotide gap, it is just this nucleotide and this nucleotide. Their phosphodiester linkage is missing. Okay, so as you can see, on one strand which is growing towards the replication fork is the continuous. It is synthesizing continuously. So this is continuous. Whereas on another template, opposite template, where new DNA synthesis going away from the replication fork, it is synthesizing discontinuously. It's a discontinuous synthesis of strand. So the chain which is growing towards replication fork, which is continuous in nature, it is also known as leading strand. It is also known as leading strand, and we can know that leading strand has only one RNA primer. Whereas the chain which is growing opposite to the replication fork, see, this is the direction of replication fork, and it is growing opposite to replication fork, which is discontinuous, which is also known as lagging strand. Lagging strand. Now discontinuation means this chain is synthesized in the fragments. So this fragment, one fragment, two fragments, and such a hundreds and thousands of fragments are there. These fragments are known as Okazaki fragments. Okazaki fragments. So if you imagine a replication bubble, so this is replication bubble, and on the both the side double helical DNA structure is there. So on one side DNA will grow like this, and on another strand DNA goes like new DNA synthesized like this in the opposite direction. So if you look at the halfway, this is the 3' end and this is the 5' end comparative to this, and this is the 5' end compared to this 3' end. So this DNA strand is in the 5' to 3' direction, which is a leading strand. Whereas in this case, it is the fragmented in nature. Okay, so this is the lagging strand, as it is synthesizing into away from the replication fork. On this side, the scenario will be different. Here the 5' end and this is the 3' end, right? So what will happen? This will become a lagging strand, as it will grow away from the replication fork. So this is the lagging strand, and this will be the, like, it is going towards the replication fork. So this is the leading strand. Okay, so on the one side both strands also lies, but as we are discussing only this such replication fork, we are focusing only this part. So you can see only one side there is lagging strand and another side there is a leading strand. Now let's discuss something more about our DNA polymerase 3. Okay, how it adds nucleotide to this RNA primer. So DNA polymerase 3, this enzyme, we know that it is the member of DNA polymerase family. So of course it follows rule number 1, 2 and 3, that is read into 3' to 5', it synthesizes into 5' to 3' direction, and it requires nucleic acid, short piece. One more thing, that this RNA primer, their approximate length is approximately 10 nucleotide. Okay, so these three rules apply to this DNA polymerase 3. Of course, as it is polymerizing the new DNA, we say that it synthesizes into 5' to 3' direction. We can also say that it has 5' to 3' DNA polymerase activity, right? Polymerase activity. But sometime what happens? Suppose this is the replication fork, 3' to 5' end, and this is your RNA primer. Now your DNA polymerase is working. Okay, so it is going on adding nucleotide. Over here, one by one nucleotides are added. Suppose here the sequence is A, G, C, T. Now here the thymine in opposite to A, T should be added. Opposite to G, C should be added. Opposite to C, we know that G should be added. But suppose by mistake it is adding T. So what will happen? This is the mistake, and this mistake is done by our DNA polymerase 3. DNA polymerase 3. Such mistakes are not tolerable in nature. If such mistakes go unnoticed, then complete genome of particular organism can be changed, and that species cannot survive, that cannot keep their identity. So such mistake cannot be tolerated. So what our DNA polymerase 3 has activity, it is 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. So we know that this chain is going from the 5' to 3' end. In this direction it is growing. So once this DNA polymerase 3 reaches up to this level, it senses that, oh, I had added wrong nucleotide. So what it will do? It will go back to one step and it will remove from the 3' direction. It will remove this nucleotide from the 3' direction. So 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. So now this T is removed. So let's remove it. Let's erase it. This mistake is corrected and its proper nucleotide, that is G, in place, and now it will added. So what happened? Momentarily this 5' to 3' DNA polymerase activity stopped. It goes back to one step and execute its 3' to 5' exonuclease activity, so that wrong nucleotide is removed, and once again it resumes its 5' to 3' DNA polymerase activity, so the correct nucleotide is added. Okay, so here DNA polymerase 3 itself is correcting its own mistake. This action is known as proofreading action or proofreading activity. So remember, proofreading activity is nothing but the 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. This proofreading activity is because of this activity. Okay, so our DNA replication is with the high fidelity rate, that means minimal mistake. It honestly does its work, and thanks to this activity. Okay, the second thing, just imagine a scenario that for addition of this T, DNA polymerase comes, add T and then goes away. Then for the addition of next, this cytosine, it comes, DNA polymerase comes, then adds cytosine and then goes away. For addition of this G, DNA polymerase comes, adds G and goes away. Now this is not a very efficient mechanism. Why? Because if DNA polymerase moves to and fro near to the template and goes away, then comes again for new nucleotide, then it will become very slow process. But thanks to nature, this DNA polymerase 3 has one beta subunit. What this beta subunit does is, this beta subunit is a ring-like structure. So it forms a ring around the template DNA, and remaining enzyme is like this. So what will happen? This DNA polymerase activity always remains in proximity to this template strand. So as new nucleotides added, this clamp moves into this direction, and so more and more nucleotides are added. So once DNA polymerase comes and bind with this template, it adds hundreds and thousands of nucleotides before leaving this template. Okay, so only single binding is required for adding 100 to 1000 nucleotides. This is known as high processivity of enzyme, and this high processivity is because of the beta subunit of DNA polymerase 3 activity. And you can see that this beta subunit is a ring-like structure, or you can say it's a clamp-like structure, and which is sliding over the template. So beta subunit is also known as sliding clamp. One more thing about DNA polymerase is that we know that this is the short stage. Suppose this is the RNA primer, and it needs to add one by one nucleotides. So this is nucleotide 1, nucleotide 2, nucleotide 3. So in case of DNA, these nucleotides are deoxyribonucleoside monophosphate. These are the required by the DNA polymerase. But actually what happens, we have deoxyribonucleoside triphosphate. These are converted into deoxyribonucleoside monophosphate. That means two inorganic phosphate bound with each other, that is PPI, also known as pyrophosphate, is removed. Now this removal is a high energy. It releases very high amount of energy, and this PPI are further broken down to 2 inorganic phosphate. Okay, so this wall action is carried out by the DNA polymerase. So the DNA polymerase first takes up this triphosphate nucleotide and convert it into the monophosphate nucleotide. These monophosphate nucleotides eventually added to the growing nucleotide chain or growing DNA chain. But this process releases so much energy. It is equivalent to 2 ATP. Why? Because one bond is broken over here and second high inorganic phosphate bond is broken over here. So it releases equivalent to 2 ATP process. So remember, for each addition of nucleotide, 2 high energy bond equivalent to 2 ATPs are used. So the DNA polymerization is a costly process. Okay, so whatever energy which is released at these two places are utilized for making up the phosphodiester bond with this growing nucleotide chain. Now, because of the release of this such a high amount of energy, this process is eventually a irreversible one. So, what happens? This deoxyribonucleoside, we know that DNA polymerase is growing a chain of DNA. So, in DNA, we have deoxyadenosine triphosphate, deoxyguanosine triphosphate, deoxycytosine triphosphate, and deoxythymidine triphosphate. These are converted into deoxyadenosine monophosphate, deoxyguanosine monophosphate, deoxycytosine monophosphate, and deoxythymidine monophosphate. So these are the raw material. Basically, this is the raw material for the DNA synthesis. And if any one of these, suppose the GTP is not present in the body or cell, so what will happen? This complete DNA polymerization stops. So all of these 4 nucleotides must be in the adequate quantity, then only DNA polymerization can occur. So let's once again draw the replication fork and just summarize what we understood. So this is the replication fork. On one side, this is 3' to 5' end, this is 5' to 3' end. This is the RNA primer. On other chain, we have multiple of RNA primer. So these are the RNA primers which are synthesized by primase enzyme, and then DNA synthesized like this by the DNA polymerase 3 enzyme. Of course, new DNA is in the 5' to 3' direction. Here also 5' to 3'. This is 5' to 3', and this is also 5' to 3'. And rest of the enzymes I am not showing. So this process of new synthesis of DNA will continue until full of the genome is replicated. There is no proper termination. Termination occurs only when the full genome is replicated. So now what will happen? Is this a complete new DNA? No. There are certain problems with this. First, this RNA primer is not required. Actually, we want to replicate DNA, not the RNA. This will create a problem. So, first problem is this RNA primer has to be removed. Okay, should be removed. And second thing, even though this RNA primer is removed, these gaps will remain. So, the second problem is these gaps should be filled. Actually, these gaps are not of the nucleotide gap, but just the phosphodiester bond between this 3' end and this 5' end is missing. So that gaps must be filled. So let's try to understand how nature had designed the system that can remove this RNA primer. So for that, we have one more enzyme that is known as DNA polymerase 1. Remember, these black parts are synthesized by DNA polymerase 3. Now we are talking about DNA polymerase 1. As this DNA polymerase 1, it is a member of that grand family of DNA polymerase. It follows all the 3 rules of that is reading into the 3' to 5' direction, synthesis from 5' to 3' direction, and it requires short piece of nucleic acid, and that nucleic acid may be DNA or RNA. In case of DNA polymerase 3, that short piece of nucleic acid was RNA, and let's try to understand in this case what will be that short piece of nucleic acid. Okay, so what this DNA polymerase 1 will do, it will first try to locate a gap. It will find, okay, I have gap over here, I have gap over here. So this DNA polymerase, I am showing it by the green color, it will first locate the gap and bind over there. Okay. Second thing it will do is, once gap is located, once gap is located, this DNA polymerase 1 has one unique activity, that is 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity. Exonuclease activity. And this activity specifically removes ribonucleotides. So this enzyme will now start moving into this direction. It will find, okay, this is the ribonucleotide, so it will remove. This is the ribonucleotide, it will get removed. So it will start removing one nucleotide at a time. One by one nucleotides are removed. So once this nucleotide is removed, then its 5 prime to 3 prime polymerase activity comes into action. So what it will do? First this part is removed. So let's try to remove it. So this part is removed, and then by this 5 prime to 3 prime polymerase activity, it will add DNA chain or DNA deoxyribonucleotide. Then this part will be removed. So let's remove it. So this part is removed, then this part is removed. Remember, this is one by one process. One nucleotide removed, one deoxynucleotide added, one oxynucleotide removed, one deoxy added, like that, in that sequence. And eventually gap will be shifted over here. Initially gap was over here, but by this one by one action of 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity followed by 5 prime to 3 prime polymerase activity, it will start growing this chain and gap is shifted over here. So here you can see the DNA which is synthesized by DNA polymerase 3 is acting as a primer for this DNA polymerase 1. Why? Because new deoxynucleotides are added to this DNA chain. Okay, and of course it is moving towards the 5 prime to 3 prime direction. So now we can see. So now one more question arises. What if this DNA polymerase 1 does the action? Does it have a proofreading action? Or in other words, does it have a 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity? The answer is yes. So its third activity is 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity. So what will happen? If any mistake, any wrong nucleotide is added over this place, then it can be corrected by this 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity. Remember, our DNA polymerase 3 has 5 prime to 3 prime polymerase activity, 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity, but it doesn't have 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity. This DNA polymerase 1 has this one extra activity, and because of this extra activity, it is able to remove this RNA primer. The same thing will happen. This gap will be shifted over this place, and this red RNA primer is replaced by the new DNA which is synthesized by DNA polymerase 1. So now gap is over here. So the first problem is solved, but the second problem, that is gap should be filled, it is yet there. So this gap over here and this gap, they are filled by one more enzyme that is known as DNA ligase. Okay, so DNA ligase, it utilizes 2 ATP. Actually not 2 ATP, 1 ATP, but that ATP is converted to AMP and pyrophosphate is removed, and this pyrophosphate further broken down to 2 inorganic phosphate. So although 1 ATP is utilized, but the energy is equivalent to 2 ATPs. Okay, so even ligation of this is also a costly process. Here you might be wondering that what would happen to this RNA primer, the RNA primer which is the first RNA primer. Similarly, on the lagging strand also, when both strands are completely synthesized, there will be one overhanging RNA primer at the last place. What happened to this RNA primer? Why this is a problem? Because I told you that DNA polymerase 1 first tried to find a gap. Now this is not a gap, this is the end. Okay, gap is this one is gap. So it will not able to locate this. Even if it locate, it will digest this. But for carrying out this 5 prime to 3 prime polymerase activity, on this side there is no any piece of nucleic acid. So this much RNA primer is later on degraded. Okay. So ultimately what happens? By the schematic diagram, suppose now the full DNA, these are the 2 separate strands of the DNA of the template strand. So on the one which is leading strand, this is the RNA primer, and then full DNA is synthesized. This is of the leading strand. Okay, and remember this one is of the parent DNA strand, this is parent DNA strand, this is daughter DNA strand. On other strand there are RNA primers like these, and these are the pieces which are synthesized by the DNA polymerase 3, like this. Okay, this is 3 prime to 5 prime, and this is 5 prime to 3 prime. This is 3 prime to 5 prime. This is 3 prime to 5 prime. So later on what happens? These RNA primers are replaced and ligated by, not this RNA primer, but these RNA primers are replaced and ligated by DNA polymerase 1 and DNA ligase sequentially. The problem of this RNA primer remains as such. So these RNA primers are later on removed by the nuclease enzyme. Okay, so as we can see over here, this much portion is unreplicated. This much portion is also unreplicated. So these are the overhanging DNA, single stranded DNA, and as I told you in my previous lecture that single stranded DNA are very much hatted by nuclease enzyme. So they are also destroyed. So daughter DNA, daughter double stranded DNA is somewhat shorter than the parental DNA. And this is also a problem which is solved by telomerase group of enzyme that I will discuss in future videos. So this is all about DNA replication in prokaryotes. In the next video, I will discuss about the major aspects of DNA replication in eukaryotes. If you have any query or confusion, please write it down in the comment section below. Thank you.